49 cents per pound. March for savings at Super Value and quality supermarkets.
Peace 107.5 FM, the air of success.
We are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group. Copyrights 2017. All rights are reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network, and Hard Copy, as you know, seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligence and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, we're talking about a mighty good job. This is a good feel-good moment that we've got to have today. And of course, I'm talking about the Bahamian Prison, the Bahamas Prison Fellowship. We're going to have a few young men in here because it's good what they're doing.
Mark the date. The Bahamas 2017 National High School Track and Field Championships will take place Thursday, March 9th to Saturday, March 11th at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium. 2016 saw the QC Comets set some 7 national records and walked away as champions. 2017 promises to be just as exciting. Who will be crowned champions after it's all said and done? Will it be North Andrews Central High School, Moores Island All-Age School, C.R. Walker Knights, SAC Big Red Machine, Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy, or will QC do a two-peat? Come and cheer on your favorite schools and enjoy the best in high school track and field competition. Mark the date, Thursday, March 9th at 9:30 a.m. The gun starts the first event. The 2017 National High School Track and Field Championships is brought to you by the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology and the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture.
Mommy, what does comprehensive mean?
It's when you include everything, not just some things. Why?
I'm reading it on your Facebook page. Your friend Kalina has comprehensive health coverage.
Let me see that. Comprehensive health coverage that includes primary and specialist care, hospitalization, surgical services, overseas care, and rehabilitative services.
So they didn't leave anything out?
They sure didn't. Kalina really is my friend.
Talk to Kalina about comprehensive health coverage that won't leave you exposed. Visit kalina.com or find us on Facebook.
All around the Bahamas, people are switching.
I switched.
They're switching their high-interest loans and credit cards to Commonwealth Bank and saving with a lower payment.
We switched.
Now it's your turn. Get a new lower rate and save with zero payment for 60 days. Plus, enter to win the Switch and Win $5,000 giveaway.
Now I pay less every month.
Everyone can. Visit us today and switch to a lower rate. Commonwealth Bank, your leader in personal banking services.
Mark the date, Saturday, March 18th, 2017. It's an open house to showcase all the amenities of a well-appointed gated community on West Bay Street, Lyford Hills, just opposite Old Fort Bay and Lyford Key. Lyford Hills, it's calling young professional to a lifestyle second to none. Fitness center, tennis court, racquetball and squash court, media center, bistro and bar, swimming pool and hot tub, movie theater, walking trails and fruit trees, green spaces, 24-hour security, and the list goes on. Come and see for yourself. Lyford Hills Open House. Mark the date, Saturday, March 18th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now is a good time to get a piece of the rock. Call Lyford Hills right now, 362-1652 or 1214. Life at Hills.
I'm Thelma Miller, and in the afternoon, me and my son Nicholas on our way home, we will listen to Hard Copy. I enjoy it, I appreciate it, and I would like for one day to meet Mr. Steve McKinney.
My favorite station is 107.5, and my favorite show is Hard Copy.
Are you a lover of Bahamian music? The Bahamas Ministry of Tourism's The Bahamian Ting Song Competition Top 20 finalists have been announced, and it's up to you who makes it to the top 10. Log on to listen and vote for your favorite songs at www.bahamas.com/thebahamianting. Oh, and don't forget to mark your calendars for April 21st, 2017 for the grand finale concert on Fort Montague Beach Park.
For more information, call 302-2000.
It's a Bahamian Ting.
Looking for that one-stop shop where you can find everything? Hadji's is just the place. A fully stocked store that is convenient and reliable. If you're looking for automotive, electrical, lawn and garden, household, nails and screws, hardware, power tools, plumbing, and even paint supplies, stop by Hadji's on St. Albans Drive. They have a full line of groceries, personal notions, and sundry. Your one-stop shop for everything. Hadji's, number 22 St. Albans Drive. Call them at 323-4375.
I believe that hard copy is one of the hardest, so long as Steve McKinney continue being a part of it.
Steve McKinney Show with information. He is on target, right on target.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
Something is about to happen in your life. Something is about to happen in your marriage. Something is about to happen in your family. Something is about to happen in your career. Something is about to happen in your spirit. Something is about to happen in your soul. Something is about to happen. But hear me. It cannot happen if you keep going back to the tomb. Because what God is about to do, it cannot happen in a dead place around dead thinking people with dead ideas and dead strategies. Why seek ye the living among the dead?
I did what they told me, got an education, and I'm ready to give back to my country. But there are no jobs, no hope, no future. What about us?
Yeah, I make some mistakes in my life I'm sorry for. But you know what? I ain't trying to go down that road again. Man, ain't no one trying to give me a second chance. What I supposed to do? What about us?
We worked hard and saved.
We finally got our home for our family.
Then, my husband lost his job.
Now, we're facing foreclosure and about to lose everything.
What about us?
I helped to build this country. I raised my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. I should be enjoying the golden years, but I'm spending my time on social service line for the couple of dollars they can put on my card. We need to come back home when our older folks matter. What about us?
It's time to take our country back, to restore the vision and fulfill the dream. It's time for us. I am Greg Moss, and I approve this message.
UDP! For more information, log on to UnitedDemocraticParty.org or find us on social media.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
It is Thursday, the 9th day in the month of March 2017, as you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic. We have partly cloudy skies, 76 degrees right now in the nation's capital. There's a low tonight of 64. Some showers on the radar tonight as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by Life at Hills, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, Mount Tabor Inspiration, Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, Hadji's Your Everything Store, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, United Democratic Party, UDP, Rocky Farms Nursery, Cool Tech, the Can Do experts on Tonique Williams Darling Highway, Bahamian Durian Beverages, clean insurance for comprehensive coverage, Super Wash, open 24/7. The Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors, Clariton Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group for the best results in advertisement. Also brought to you by Sapadilla Restaurant and the Plaid and Polka Dots Big Ball. And also by Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road, the National Track and Field Championships, and the Free National Movement. Prayer breakfast this Saturday morning. It's going to be somewhere over in the south. You ought to make plans to be there. Today on Hard Copy, you can text me at 376-9234. You can call me at 325-0242. You can also go to the World Wide Web at peace1075.com. You can see us on the YouTube channel, Cable Top Box 970, TuneIn Radio around the world, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. You can also go to the Facebook page of Hard Copy and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. Well, today on the show, we have an abbreviation of our show today. It's a 1-hour run. We're going to be talking with some young men who are very important at this particular point in time in our discussion, because we've been trying to find a way to get people on the right road. You know, with all this crime and everything else that's been happening, we now need to concentrate wherever we can on the human resources of our country and on young people and on positive starts. And so today we have some young men with us from the Prison Fellowship, and they're here because they care. They want to be able to share a number of things that have happened in their lives, as well as what you can do to make sure that these things do not come your way in this time in your life. And of course, we have with us today Dave Williams. Dave and I played basketball back in the day in the Cougars organization and Prairie Grounds, and so we go way back. And Dave has been really kind of like a reverend gentleman, working, trying to work with young people, work with so many people around the country. Dave is very, very popular. Everybody knows Dave, and Dave is a part of the Bahamas Prison Fellowship. In fact, he is the man who's in charge of the regional Bahamas Prison, the regional Prison Fellowship in the region and the Caribbean. He's been doing a fantastic job. And Dave and I sat down and spoke that we should sit down and bring this perspective to the Bahamian public, because people only hear about, oh boy, don't go do this, you might get locked up and all that. But there's a life that happens in the prison. And while this is an idea and a move to get people involved who are already in prison to find their way out and get back into the good life of doing things decent and honest and all that kind of stuff again. And of course, rehabilitation, that's a very, very important part of it, but with a Christian perspective. And so they've been doing a wonderful job of helping so many people get it together. And they don't get any thanks. You don't hear too much about them, but they're there. And it's a very important thing. Also with us today on the show is Arthur Swan and Denver Pratt. Now, both of the Bahamians, they have been incarcerated in prisons in the system in the United States, and they're back home in the country. They have a lot to share. And I think that anybody who is interested in doing better in life would want to listen. So I want to welcome them all here to the show today on Hard Copy, the special edition. Arthur Swan, Denver Pratt, and of course, Dave Williams. How y'all doing, friends?
Doing great, sir.
Wonderful.
Good evening.
All right. So we want to start out by talking basically about this whole concept of the this ministry that is in the prison, the fellowship, that kind of thing. I want Dave to put us on page because we're leading up to something here, and I want that to take place for us. Go ahead, Dave. What we're dealing with.
I just want to say good evening to those of you listening. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening around the world, wherever you are. My name is Dave Williams. I presently serve as the Regional Director for the Caribbean for Prison Fellowship International. which involve 14 countries. And as a matter of fact, even as we're speaking, Steve, next week Sunday to be exact, we will be traveling to Barbados to host a forum with persons from throughout the Caribbean, Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, Trinidad, Suriname, Bermuda, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, and you name it. And all of us will be coming together to sit down and to decide the way forward. What could we do to strengthen our ministry among persons in prison? And I just want to say to you, the two young men whom you listen to have a story to tell, and there's so much work has been going on, but I just want to allow them to share their experience, and out of their experience, what the mandate that God has given them and has called them as we seek to address the crime and the violence in this country today.
And of course, we've got lots of crime in our country.
Yes.
We see it all over the place. I mean, the crime. We hear about the murders and all that, but there's more to it than that. There are the murders, which is the highest thing, and we don't like it at all. But of course, you're talking with crime, housebreaking and stealing. You're talking about a lot of petty things that happen. You're talking about a lot of armed robberies that take place in this country. And a lot of men just don't, young people who are somewhat involved in this whole phenomenon, they don't really think and count the cost as to what's going to happen and how their life will change around and how they impact their parents and their uncles and their brothers and sisters and all that kind of stuff, and even their children. They don't think about those things, but they get in trouble, and then the next thing you know, mom's around the court all day.
Yes.
There's this up and down to the prison. It's just a real horrendous situation for any family to be involved in. And maybe you can turn that around if we were to talk from the other side. See, sometimes you got to talk from the other side.
That's correct.
Of the fence, and not on the freedom side, but on the other side.
Yes.
And then people may get the picture that this is not what I want. This is certainly not what I want. So I want to introduce Arthur Swan, who in fact is willing to talk about so many things that would have touched his life, changed his life, turned it around, because he is now a role model, doing wonderful things in the society, but it wasn't always that way. How you doing today, Arthur?
I'm doing great, sir, and thank you for having me on your show.
You're welcome.
You spoke about being on the opposite side of the fence, but ironically, I was a part of both sides of the fence. I used to be a police officer here in the country.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. And I was eventually charged with murder. I spent 3 months in Fox Hill. I won the case, and I know that there was a calling on my life to follow the purpose and the plan for God in my life. But I just was bucking against God.
Yeah.
And
being disobedient.
Right. And after winning the case, I went to the United States to further my education and got caught up in the wrong crowd. And as a result of that, I found myself being incarcerated in the United States for 8+ years.
Okay.
But it was during that incarceration that I was able to be still and recognize that
you heard that voice. Yeah.
Right. He was God. And even during my incarceration, I still was kicking against the prick.
Yeah.
I still was fighting anything.
You were
that
angry?
Was I was angry and upset
because
because
a lot of young people are angry about a lot of things, and they don't know why, and we don't know why. But you were angry.
Right. And the thing about it, the type of home that I was brought up in, it was never one of the criminal nature.
Yes.
But a lot of things happened, and it just drove me, anger and disappointment drove me to take a road that I shouldn't have taken.
Yeah, you went further and further into the abyss.
And one thing with sin, it takes you further than you want to go and keeps you longer than you want to stay. So as a result of that, I had an encounter and really turned my life around. So since my incarceration, I was able to get an associate degree in the concentration in business and a bachelor's degree in theology.
Very good.
A member at Trinity City of Praise, Apostle Ed and Lee Watson. I'm a member there.
I know them, yes.
And so I hooked up with Dave, and we do prison fellowship. I'm going to go into the prison and speak and encourage the young men to let them know, don't allow prison to be in them. Let they be in prison, but don't let prison be in them. Because the system could get in you and contaminate you and cause you to stay angry.
Wow.
And so by us not having been in our rightful position as men, and if we go back to in the Bible, that's what caused David to have his first crucial fall. the scripture tells us that during the time when kings go out to war, David stayed in Jerusalem in the palace. And that's when he saw the lady taking a bath. And as a result of that, we know the story.
Idle hands.
Exactly. So when men are out of position, when we are not in our rightful position as king, prophets, and priests in our homes, and we doing other things that distract us, other things that will lead us away from the path that God would want us to take, we'll find ourselves in plenty mischief. And trouble comes in on a horse and leaves on the turtle.
snail. Yeah, that's what they say. My mom used to always remind us that, boy, trouble come galloping on the horse's back, but it leaves on a snail's back. And that's a long, slow, grueling process.
Sure
and
is.
so you would have had to go and find yourself. You had to go inside yourself to find yourself, to do a couple of things, to rehabilitate yourself and to move on from the thing that had happened, that incident that took you in the policeman's hands in the first place. And then further, when you went to the United States, more troubles. You had to go inside yourself to determine that this is not who I am. I come from a good family, but I'm going on the wrong road, and I find myself drifting further and further away. How is that for you when it comes to wanting to do better, but the crowd is saying something else, and the peer pressure and all the other things? Because you're quite a young man, so I know that you were younger when this happened. And I'm saying, well, how did you make that turn around? Because it's not easy to make a turn around when the entire system in the world seems to be against you, and you're angry. And
that anger is like a cancer sore, because I found myself, when you get angry with the system, then you get angry with people, then you get angry with doctrines. When I talk about doctrine, I talk about religion.
Understood.
Because I found myself following the Rastafarian movement.
Yeah.
Was incarcerated. Then I found myself following the Muslim movement. Was incarcerated. Then I found myself following other religion denomination like 5%ers and following Malachi Z York or the Holy Tablets. I didn't even want to mention the name of Jesus. And then what happened? See, one thing with God is a perfect gentleman. He don't kick down your door. He knocks on your door. But he will make circumstances and situations so complicated in your life that you have to recognize that you have to go to a higher source, because the money you had can't help you, the lawyer you had can't help you, your mom can't help you, your father can't, no one can help you. And so when I found myself in that dark place, and I talk about literal darkness,
Understood.
Mr. McKinney, I had sleepless nights while I was incarcerated.
Wow.
I had nights I was afraid to go to sleep. And I talk about literally afraid, because spirits used to come out of the wall and jump on me. I used to literally see them coming out of the wall and holding me.
Is that right?
Because I tried all type of things to get out of the prison, not knowing that God had a calling on my life. I tried to deal with witchcraft whilst I was in the prison. You name it, it's in there. That's a world within a world.
And a lot of young people don't even know that. You've been exposed to a world within a world that you didn't even know exists.
Didn't even know exists. I thought, but that's a world within a world. That's a whole different society. And when I found, when those things start happening, that's why the scripture tells us, train up a child in the way that he should go, and he will not depart from it. Because when I recognized that I was getting deeper and deeper into the abyss, I said, no, man, this it got to be more than this.
Right.
And one day I just decided to open my Bible, and I just opened it. Wow. And it opened right to Galatians. And it said, who has bewitched you? Say, if any man preach any other gospel other than Jesus Christ, let him be accursed. And I say, all of these different religion I'm following. Trying to say, when I used to speak to my mom on the phone, she used to say, Arthur, talk to God. God can help you. Call on Jesus. I used to tell her, I said, look here, me and God ain't on speaking terms. Don't tell me nothing but God. But when I open up that scripture,
that jump right at
everything jumped right at me. Say, you know better. And from that day to this day, it was a complete turnaround. The change came within, and now it's manifesting without.
This is beautiful, and it's very impressive. And not only that, it's very compelling, because one of the things that, as young people, when they get into these things, they feel a sense of losing their, I suppose, a sense of being disgraced, to the point where, like how you were a policeman.
Yes.
That must have played on your mind, because a policeman, you're called to duty, and you were a policeman, and you qualified to be a policeman, and you had all the good intentions in the world, and then something happened. And then, of course, you may have gotten down on yourself and say, how did I let this happen? And you see yourself just spiraling further and further to control. That is something that I want you to speak to, because when you look at young people who may have had some status, a banker, a young lawyer, a doctor, that kind of a person who would have been decent, doing good, Christian young man, and then suddenly things break for the worse. It is hard to try to put it all back together again and to move on if you don't have something. Now, what is that something that you would say that you found and caused you to go in the right direction?
Well, Mr. McKinney, when I was a police officer, I could say this without hesitation.
Mhm.
I was dedicated to that job. I loved that job.
Mhm.
As long as there was action on the street, I'm not parking that patrol car.
Mhm.
When I was a police officer, I give that my all and all. That's how I go after things. I give it my all and all, and people could attest to that.
Mhm.
So escorting the prison bus from the prison to Bank Lane,
Mhm.
that used to be a part of my duty as well. And you know what it is to be sit on that prison bus being escorted from prison to Bank Lane?
Mhm.
You know what that could do to your psyche?
Yeah.
You know what that could do to your mentality? You know that you getting these handcuffs placed on you and you going into the prison.
And you used to be
these
the
would
one to do that.
Put people
You
there.
used the one who used to take the people.
And guys then wanted to attack you while you were there.
My Lord.
And so that work on your psyche, you're trying to say, hold on, I was here and all of a sudden I'm here. And that worked on my psyche in such a way, and then to know what I put my mother especially through.
Yes.
Well, when I put her
That
through,
would be a big
because
consideration.
that was a strain on her. I think that aged her quicker during that period of
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
That caused her to age. And the thing about it is that people may look, oh yeah, he was a police officer, now he's a convict. Then he go on to the state. Then he went to, no, he was a police officer, now he was charged with murder. Now he got his freedom, he went to the state, now he's a convict. And the first time a person called me and said, you're a convict in the state, that pierced my heart.
My Lord.
When the prison officer in the States, we call them police over there.
Mhm.
Once you're in prison, all of the officers,
police,
we
yeah.
don't call them prison officers, we call them the popo or the police.
Mhm.
And when he said, you're a convict, that pierced my heart.
The reality.
Right, that's
hit
when
you.
it really hit it, like a set of bricks just drop on my heart.
Mhm.
So you're a convict. I say, my goodness. But then I read the scripture that told me that I'm a new creation in Christ Jesus. So even though people may say you're a convict, I am a new creation in Christ Jesus. I am the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm more than a conqueror. I am the son and the child of the living God. I'm the righteousness of Jesus Christ. I don't care what man may say about me. I only interested in what God has to say about me, because he's the final say.
Mhm.
And plenty of people wouldn't hire you, wouldn't give you no job because of your past.
Yes.
And Steve McKinney, I'm not to say bragging or boasting, but just to be candid.
Understood.
My integrity is better than plenty of people who don't even have a criminal record.
believe
And I don't
that.
have a criminal record in the Bahamas, but they close every door in my face.
Mhm.
Wouldn't give me no job because of my past over here, especially because of my past over
Yes.
here. They close every door in my face, like I don't supposed to eat and feed. But I don't let that discourage me. I don't let that cause me to lose hope, because I know I serve in a God, and I know God is real, because God has changed me and where he's brought me from to where I am now. This is a totally
Absolutely.
different person.
Well, this is fantastic. Now, when you talk about the way that people don't give chances, this is the problem that we have in the country, that a person who would have been an ex-con coming out, trying to find a way back to life, trying to do the right thing, he's been given a raw deal. He's always, minimized and that kind of stuff. And that had to be something else that you had to grapple with, because the reality is that people don't trust. They are afraid. They don't do this. And with all the crime that's now happening in the Bahamas, you would be in a position where you could almost understand the psyche of people to be kind of like hands off and that kind of thing. But what about the young men who, in fact, are in prison today? What do you say to them when it's time for them to come out and they want to get back into the way of doing something positive and doing something good, but it's a long shot and they could become discouraged and go right back to a life of crime?
Well, the advice I could give them is don't lose hope. I mean, you can come out, it's going to be rough, because we have an unforgiving society. Let's call it what it is, Mr. McKinney.
Yes,
We have an
I agree with you.
but if it is my son or my cousin or my nephew, we want them to be forgiven. We want them to have opportunity. But the stranger, we have an unforgiving society. So I say to that young man or that young woman who is about to come out of prison, don't get discouraged. Keep knocking on doors and trust in God and believe in God that he will make a way somehow. We serve in a risen Savior. His arm is not too short that he cannot reach whatever pits that you may be in. So I know doors may be closed in your face and you may get discouraged, but think about it. It's better to be walking out here trying to find something to do, whether something small or temporary, than to be incarcerated and not, you know, Mr. McKinney, when I used to sit down in prison, we used to sit down and talk and say, hey, you know, it'll be nice to even be caught up in traffic right now, to be stuck in traffic. You know, it'll be nice to open up a refrigerator. It'll be nice right now to use a real fork. Simple things like that would we take for granted.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. So try not to go through that revolving door. One more thing before I let my brother speak. Whilst I was incarcerated, for lack of a better saying, because plenty of people who are incarcerated don't like this term to be put on people who were inmates. I was a model prisoner. I never got a disciplinary action whilst in there. I was always a part of plenty committees. I was, as a matter of fact, they trained me every 6 months. We got training because I was on the suicide watch team. Because they had limited staff, they couldn't afford to have an officer watch an inmate who was suicidal. So what the psychiatrist on the compound would do is train a group of us. They pick what they say, quote unquote, the best out of the bunch. And they train us so that we know the signs to look for, we know what to do. And when they put a person in a dry cell, we'll take times rotating, like I'll go for 2 or 3 hours, then someone else will go for 2 or 3 hours. So during that moment, I'm like a police officer. I'm like a doctor's aide. And because I have a say what goes into his cell and what comes out of his cell.
Understood.
And even if a prison officer comes there and override my decision what is to go into his cell, he could find himself possibly losing his job. Because once I write in that log book that officer so-and-so give inmate so-and-so something that he wasn't supposed to get, when Dr. Lemon, when Dr. Lemon read that report, the officer have a great chance of losing his job. So I was trained to help people, assist people who were suicidal. And so I have a lot to contribute, but in this country, if you don't have a particular color, you're not how it goes.
So you are now home in this country, and it's been rough to still, even now, it's been rough for you to find yourself in an environment where you are contributing, even though you've now got an associate's and a bachelor's degree in what you have done, because you went and trained yourself and got qualified. Do you still find it now difficult to make ends meet, to get the kind of work that you want? Or are you just in a position where you are so close to the church that you can get by because you're close to the church, and that is like a kind of like a cushion for you?
Well, I'm getting by now because I'm a strong family support. I have a wonderful wife who's very supportive.
Excellent.
You understand me? More supportive to me than I'm even deserving, truth be told.
Yes.
But in terms of trying to get things to happen, even I'm not going to call a corporation name, but a major corporation in the country, I put an application to work with them. And Mr. McKinney, this was a job I probably would been digging trenches. This was a no office necktie job. And they come back to me, no, your background track didn't pan out. What in my background? If I get a police record, a Bahamian police record right now to you, Mr. McKinney, no criminal charges, clean police record in this in the Bahamas.
Understood.
But it is what it is. But thank God we have a God that is still on the throne.
Well, you just continue to persevere and press, because obviously the Lord has something for you to do. And this may be the beginning of it, that you are able to articulate the way that you can, the way that you've shown me today. You don't know what kind of ministry can come out of what you have done in talking to people and counseling people. And he will make a way, because by your brow you will eat bread. And so something is going to happen for you. I can tell you that. I can see that you are a young man who has the actual look of the discipline and the attitude of somebody who just wants to break out and do and prove that I can do this. And God be with you. It's going to happen. Let me run to a break quick before I talk and bring in Denver Pratt, as we're on short time today. And of course, this is a very interesting story here. The prison can be the beginning of a change of life for many people, but you've got to get the right connections. David and those have been working with young people so that they can find the true and living God. He's been showing them and teaching them how you pray and how you get and go into yourself and to sit and be still. That's one of the things that Arthur Swan told us. He had to sit and be still. And when you sit and be still, direction comes. And so we're talking to somebody today here on this program because it is important. When I come back today, it's Denver Pratt that we're going to talk with, and more from Dave Williams and Swan in just a minute, right here tonight on Hard Copy Live.
Make your list. All right, you can check it twice. Start your car. Safely make your way to your favorite Super Value or Quality Supermarkets location, and then march on in for great specials like green cabbage, 49 cents per pound. Kellogg's Tri-Fund cereals, the 52-ounce box, $10.99. Libby's whole kernel corn or sliced beets, the 15-ounce can, $1.19. Crystal Bleach, the gallon bottle, 2 for $5. Chicken drumsticks, 99 cents per pound. The savings never stop at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Based on the premise of anything you can do, we can do better in the Bahamas. The Bahamian Brewery is 100% Bahamian owned and operated. Proud Bahamians making good traditional brews in Grand Bahama, then bottling and shipping throughout our islands. Our thanks to you, Bahamas, for supporting our family of beers and beverages. Sands Light, High Rock, Strong Back, Bush Crack, Sands Pink Rattler, and Triple B. Brewed and bottled here and consumed right here in our Bahamas. Now that's truly Bahamian. The Bahamian Brewery encourages all of its fans to drink in moderation. It's said that variety is the spice of life. At Devania's Manufacturing Limited, we've got an abundance of variety that is sure to spice up your life. Bahamian hot pepper sauce, Junkanoo pepper sauce, tamarind hot sauce, guava, mango, and pineapple glaze, natural and native ingredients, beautifully bottled, labeled, and wrapped for local consumption and exports. 15 years and growing strong. Devania Spices, distributing Bahamian spices and condiments worldwide. Visit our website at www.devanias.com or phone in your orders 601-1065. Devanias, we add spice to your life.
If you're suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammertoes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations, and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
This Friday, all roads lead to Sappadilla for the Linden Pindling Foundation Plaid and Polka Dots 50th Anniversary Golden Party. With just a few tickets left, this promises to be another sold-out event. Delicious hors d'oeuvres prepared by Chef Edwin Johnson and his team. Dance the night away to the sounds of the big band, Visage. Call box office at Sappadilla right now at 327-2161. That's 327-2161. Or contact Gandhi Pinder at 557-2511. That's 557-2511 to secure your tickets today. Sappadilla, the place to be this Friday.
Do you feel trapped and unable to move because of debt? Are you trying to meet your monthly obligations but still falling behind? Then what you need is a fresh start. BOB's Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan will combine your existing debts into one easy monthly payment, restoring your financial freedom and getting you back on track with a built-in savings plan. Talk to us today about your BOB Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan. BOB, your bank of solutions.
We want to know the people's choice. So drop whatever you're doing, grab your smartphone or computer, and log on to www.caciqueawards.com to vote for your favorite Bahamian secular or gospel song. Whether you love to dig up the road like Fanchon, put your hands in the air like D-Mac, or remind the world that God is the boss like Rocky and Uncle Sam, the choice is yours. The 17th Annual Cacique Awards, April 8, 2017. Log on and cast your vote today.
This Thursday night, March 9th at 7 p.m., it's the official grand opening of the United Democratic Party Fox Hills Constituency Office, located in the Clarence Ferguson Building, Bernard Road. Come out and hear from party leader, the Honorable Gregory Morse, Deputy Leader and candidate for Fox Hill, Mr. John Pinder. Party National Chairman, Mr. C. Allen Johnson, will also be in attendance. That's the United Democratic Party Fox Hills Constituencies Office, grand opening this Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m. Coverage begins on Peace 107.5 FM at 7 p.m. Don't miss it.
Something inside so strong. I know that I
Steve McKinney, a show off the chain.
I feel Mr. McKinney is excellent, he's professional in his field, and he takes care of all issues.
I listen to Hard Copy. I like to hear various viewpoints, and it helps.
Hard Copy is my show. Steve McKinney is my man.
Welcome back to Hard Copy, and we're here till 6 o'clock, abbreviated version of Hard Copy today. We've got some other assignments to deal with this afternoon, but today, right now, sufficient unto the hour are the troubles thereof, and we have with us today on the show some young men who are part of the Bahamas Prison Fellowship. They have done a tremendous job in bringing the word to people and spreading the word of God in the prison, and you can say that they can take some of the credit for those who go in, and when they come out, they don't go back in. And that recidivism rate that is just astronomical is sometimes dealt with and impacted by the work that these men do. I've been talking for the most part today with the men from the prison. Of course, I'm talking about David. David Williams is with me, and Arthur Swan, you heard from him just before the break, and Denver Pratt. Denver Pratt is also one who was incarcerated in the United States for a period, and he is back home now, also having the same struggles, I would imagine, with a number of things and trying to show that he's a reformed person who wants to contribute to society and the challenges thereof. Denver, how are you today?
I'm good. Mr. McKinney, I want to just say good afternoon to your listening audience, and it's great to be here on your show for the very first time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're welcome, and maybe you'll come again.
Yes.
And bring Denver and bring Arthur Swan with you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what's it been like for you? I mean, we're talking, and I'm sorry to be almost rushing through this. I don't mean to. I would like to just sit back, relax, and hear all the whole 9 yards of all the stories that have been happening as far as you're concerned and the others. But what are your thoughts about what Arthur had to say? Is your story anyway in relation to his story? Can you identify what he is talking about, especially from the part of non-acceptance after you would have gone through these things, would have made a mistake as a young person? You're still relatively young right now. What would you say?
Yeah, I understand what my brother Arthur is saying, and for me, part of my returning home, you have some sort of rejection, but I think I was fortunate to a bit because some doors was actually opened up for me. I came back home in 2008, and I had an opportunity to work at one of the hotels on Cable Beach as a cook. And I explained to the manager who I was, what I have done, and just kept it real. And he decided to give me a chance. And that's what is right. It was a great experience. I had a chance to work in different parts of the kitchen, and where I was connected with the visitors and cooking different sort of things. Cooking was a passion for me during the time that I was small. I was told that when I was 3, I was to get beating because I used to have a chair, and I used to stand in the chair and cook and
go
turn
around the stove.
and go around the stove.
You know you ain't supposed to do that.
Right, and I know I ain't supposed to do that. So it stuck with me, and throughout my life, I become to like it and continue it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the avenues that I took.
So you were able to learn how to cook and all that. You cooked before professionally, and then you are now cooking, or you were cooking at the hotel upon your return from the United States.
Right.
Now, you were able to spend a considerable time over there in the United States, or were you somebody who passed through the system, kind of like Arthur, who in fact was in the system and then eventually got out of there in short time? What was it all about?
Well, actually, Mr. McKinney, my time in the United States, I spent a considerable amount of time Just to give you an idea, I spent about 136 months. When you really break that down, that's 11 years and 5 months. And just to give you a little background of myself, grew up in the inner city in the Yellow Elder area.
Okay.
And I saw the good and the bad and the ugly. And I saw individuals that was on drugs, and I saw those who sold drugs. And so I had to make a choice. And my choice was I was going to be the one that followed with those who sell drugs. And eventually, like any other young man, you start from a very small, you start from a very small, and I continue to do it. I saw that the older man in my community, the attention that they was getting, the women that they was getting, the money that was getting, and it's so sad, Mr. McKenzie, that I draw to that. And even today, I think that's what's happening to so many of our young men. They gravitate to the wrong individuals. They don't see the doctors and the lawyers. They don't see the professionals who they can say, okay, I want to be like them. And so what happened is I continue in the drug game and until I was elevated and take it overseas. Now they say when you reach that stage, you are in the major leagues now. And so I was all up and down.
Major League Baseball now.
Right. I'm all up and down the East Coast, Atlanta, Detroit, and selling this drugs, doing what I normally do. And I begin to love it. In strip clubs, spending numerous money, drinking Dawn Perignon, Alizé, watching the girls drop it like it hot, and loving it. And one thing I noticed, Mr. McKinney, it seems to me when back then, when you have a lot of money, people try change your name. So my name went from Denver to Chief and Boss now, because they figure, okay, yeah, you probably associated with a lot of money. And what that does is it plays with your ego. Right? It plays with, you're the big boss. And so it plays with your ego. And what happened is that I remember very vividly that back in 1998, Mr. McKinney, my partner and I were heading on I-75, doing what we normally do best. And halfway through our journey, we were pulled over by 2 state troopers. Now, one of the reasons they say they pulled us over is to give us a warning because we were swerving in and out traffic. But now here it is. This is something that we was doing almost 1,000 times. We know what to do. But that was the excuse to pull us over. Because now if you really look at this, here it is. You have 2 black young men in a car, and they run the plates and decided and came to know that the plates were a rental. So now you have 2 black men in a rental car, and through their mind, they saying, these individuals probably are up to no good. I believe they were racial profiling us. It could have been that. And they pulled us over. And so we asked them a question, why did you pull us over? They say they just want to give us a warning. And at that time, they just asked us to search the vehicle. Now, being a foreigner in the country, we actually don't know exactly what the laws are. So they went and searched our vehicle. They wasn't satisfied. They brought out the drug sniffing dog that they had in their possession. They walked the dog around our vehicle, and the drug sniffing dog stopped at the back trunk. Miss McKinney, when the drug dog stopped at the back trunk, I knew we was in trouble. The officers opened up the back trunk, where they discovered a black duffel bag, almost $500,000 worth of cocaine. Immediately, these officers drew their guns on us, because what they were saying is that if you guys are carrying this amount of drugs on you, you got to have guns. And so we were so glad we didn't have guns, because the guns would have given us more time. And what happened was they take us to a county jail, Mr. McKinney. And during that time, we stayed in the county jail for 1.5 years, waiting before we go to trial. Here it is in a foreign country, thousands of miles away from home. We in a foreign jail. We trying to figure out now, how is this thing is going to play out? But there were 3 of us in one cell. And we were reading our Bibles, because I remember I was told by my mother, and she said, if you ever get in trouble, call on the name of God. So here it is, we reading the word of God. The word of God is foreign to me. I'm not understanding what it is. A prison officer was doing his count. And after he finished his count, he stopped to our cell, opened the cell, and asked us a simple question. The question that he asked was, are you gentlemen safe? Our reply was no. And then he asked us another question. Would you like to be saved? We said yes. So what I'm saying, from back in 1999, Mr. McKinney, a prison guard led me to God, who I don't know his name today. I don't know how he looked today. And God probably used him.
Absolutely.
See, sometimes what happened is we'll be doing our own thing. And God has to put you in a place so you can now hear from him.
Absolutely.
Like the old people used to say, sometimes you got to get your foot bucked so God can get your attention. So we were stayed in the county jail. I went to trial. My family, them came over. The judge, we got found guilty, got convicted and sentenced, and got 136 months. To make matters worse, Mr. McKinney, my fiance at the time, who's my wife now, was pregnant with our 18-year-old son, who's off in college studying right now.
Praise the Lord.
And the very first time I was able to hold my son was in a courtroom after I got sentenced. So now I'm trying to say, how is this thing going to play out?
Yeah.
See, because what happened is a lot of individuals don't really understand that when you do and make these decisions, you don't just make these decisions that affect you.
Absolutely.
It
Impact
affects
your
the
entire
people
family.
around you and the
Absolutely.
people who love you. So here it is now. My fiance had to now take care of the family, and I had to be a long distance father from behind prison bars. You see what I'm saying? So now it brings a divider into the family. And during my time of incarceration, Mr. McKinney, I've learned a lot of things. Like my brother say, he took and he had some degrees. I took a small business class. I connect myself around individuals who were doing positive things, because in the federal system, you had guys who came from all over the place. These wasn't no slap by night guys. I'm talking about you had guys who would make 90 look like a bellboy. I'm talking about you had guys who was embezzled, who embezzled 500 million, and right. And so I sit at their feet and I wanted to learn what they know. And see, in the prison system, you can choose to watch BET all day. You can choose to go in the basket court all day. I choose to do positive things. I choose to say the only thing that's going to keep me through this sentence is God. I had to put him in the forefront, and that's what happened. And during my prison time, you get to interact with guys from all over the world, Mr. McKinney. I'm talking about Switzerland, England, Africa,
the best of the best,
Jamaica, all over the world.
Yeah.
So you either could do one or two things. You either could say, okay, I'm now going to connect with the guys from this country, and when I get out, I can continue. Or you can make a difference, a change. And so I choose to change. I say, God, if you allow me to get out of this, I would serve you for the rest of my life. I want to go back into the prisons and minister to my brothers. I want to go into the schools, and I did that 4 years when I connect with Brother Williams. I saw him on a show, and he was talking. I think it was Jerome Sawyer, and he was saying how we go into prison. And I said to myself, how am I going to connect with brother Dave? And so happens we had a seminar to the headquarters, and Brother Dave and I connect. And from that day, he told me, say, next week I'm going into the prison, and he allowed me to go. And I went into the prison, and Maximum, never forget it, and spoke. And after that, we continued to go into the prison. One of the things that I noticed that, especially with our young man, Mr. McKinney, that we see that we're losing is there are three things that I try to discuss and try to get over to them. One of them is identity. And this is one of the reasons we see our young men try to gravitate to these gangs, because they trying to find their identity. And the only way you're going to find your true identity is in God. The Bible reminds you and I in the book of Genesis chapter 1 and 27 that you and I were created in the image and in the likeness of Jesus Christ. So what that tells me now that you and I should have the characteristics of Jesus Christ. You are not going to find it in the gang. And so many times we ask the individuals behind the bars, let me see the hands of those of you, your boys came to visit you. No hands go up.
Wow.
So
they're alone.
They're alone. And the only people who really come to visit them and is family and mothers and parents. Thank God for mothers and parents. And so what I'm trying to show them is this: what are you doing doesn't make no sense. Why would you allow someone to tell you, go and kill your other brother? Regardless of what color he is, he's still your brother. Because if I cut you, you bleed red. If I cut him, he bleed red. So we try to get that over to them. That's your true identity. See, once you find your true identity, you don't need to be trying to be like Mike. You don't need to be trying to get into no gang. You see what I'm saying? And secondly, what we have to do is let them know that everything God created, he created for a purpose. You're not here just to be existing. God created you for a purpose. Find that purpose and walk into your purpose. And don't try to emulate nobody else. God never made two people. Everybody is different in this world. Thirdly, destination, your destiny. You are not designed to be in prison. Prison is a place for you that God allow you to come to get yourself together and go back. Stop. It's a pit stop.
Yeah.
And so so these three things we try to relate to our young brothers and let them know that you have to have these three things, and these are the things will put you on your way, moving forward.
Awesome. That's a mighty good work. And I like the way that you have structured that. Identity, and then of course it ends up with your destiny. You're not supposed to be in prison. You're supposed to find yourself and go. You got your purpose,
right?
You got your identity, you got your purpose, and then you got your destiny. And you go and you live out your purpose by doing what you're doing. I want to say congratulations personally to you on what has happened here, because you could have easily decided that all them fellas from Switzerland and Denmark and all over the place, you could decide that you could hook up with them and have this major criminal enterprise. But you decided that you're going to go home, you're going to work with your people, and you're going to stick and be committed to going into the prison fellowship to help Dave and people like Dave out. That's very, very commendable. And I think the audience of Hard Copy would also want to join me in congratulating both of you on this particular move. There's a lot of work to be done, though. A lot of work to be done, and you don't get the support. And I want Dave to talk to me about the lack of the support, the lack of people understanding, the lack of businesses trying to participate and all that, so that we can understand the tremendous work that's at hand that's not getting the attention that it deserves.
One of the things Prison Fellowship has faced in the Bahamas is lack of funding. And in that regard, I just want to invite persons to join the Benevolent Committee. There's a bake sale this coming Saturday at Cousin McPhee Church, Carmichael Road. And they're using the funds from this to raise they're using this cake sale to raise some funds to purchase some gifts for the children of prisoners, okay?
Understood.
To prepare Easter baskets. Because some of the things we do for the children, Christmas, back to school, we ask persons to donate support, gifts for these children. And then what we do is we go into the prison and we get permission. And for the first time last year, we actually had the inmates themselves present the children with their baskets. And year before last Christmas, we also had a similar situation where the individuals themselves incarcerated actually presented their children with their baskets. But what I also want to say, that there's still hope, all is not lost. Prison Fellowship Bahamas has a transitional home. And so what we do, persons who are incarcerated and who comes out and who don't have a place to stay, they can call the office 394-1338, speak with the executive director, Pastor Josie, and we try to facilitate a place for them to be. It's transitional because obviously it's not permanent. You see, because there are persons from the Family Islands, for example, when they come out, they don't want to go back into the environment. And that's one of the things we do. We encourage them not to go back into the very same environment. And so we have a place there where we try to let them be a part of it, a place where they can stay. It's a nice environment, you know what I mean? A positive
Understood.
environment.
Understood.
And also there's a need for support. We've been encouraging corporate Bahamas to support Prison Fellowship. Even as a number of us prepare to travel to Barbados, we're still trying to get the necessary funding. And if persons listening and you wish to support, you can call me at 357-9410, 357-9410, or call Prison Fellowship Office 394-1338, 394-1338, as we seek to do our part to stop the recidivism that's taking place. And many people say, well, you know, they have done the time. I mean, they've done the crime. They might as well do the time. But Jesus says, the angels in heaven rejoice if just one, over one.
Yeah.
Right? So if one person making the kingdom, there's a big party that goes in heaven. So if one person, and these two are two examples, does not return back into a life of crime, we are able to rejoice. And I want to tell people every Thursday, the final Thursday in the month, we have a volunteers meeting, 6 o'clock, Yellow Valley Primary School. We're inviting persons, if you wish to be a part of it, to give your support, to come out, join us, and be a part of Prison Fellowship Bahamas.
Finally, I want to ask you both, Arthur Swan and Denver Pratt, what's your idea moving forward now? What's in your head, your mind, to do with this organization, with your life in moving forward? Because now that these things have happened, you've paid the price, you've done the time, you are now trying to live again and do things in a positive family environment. What now is in your head?
Well, Mr. McKinney, what I would like to see happen in this country, especially with all of the problems that is going on with our young men, if we could just get a program and the schools could identify the problem, for lack of a better term, those who are causing the most problem in the schools, who have that identity crisis and who keep going in the principal office or probably in the law enforcement hands. We could establish a program where people like Denver and I could
reach out to these
reach
people.
out to them, speak with them, mentor them, and make it mandatory for them to come to a particular facility. See, Mr. McKinney, with this crime problem, there's no one solution, you know. If we have plenty different solutions to deal with this, but everyone think just one solution.
Not
no,
one.
It is
Yeah.
plenty
Myriad of-
different solutions.
Yeah.
We come together, we brainstorm, we come up with different ideas, we pick the best ideas, and then we focus on those ideas and we implement those ideas. And if we could come together as a society and brainstorm, that's where that dealing with governmental, a church, and these different civic groups, and we come together and don't think because you ain't a part of my group or I ain't a part of your denomination or a part of your political affiliation or I'm not a Kiwanis or whatever the case. This is a national problem. And if we could come together and brainstorm and come up with different solutions, we could help plenty of these things that are going on. We could nib it in the bud. And so going forward, I like to see more people get involved in terms of reaching our young people and reaching them with a pure heart. Don't have ulterior motives, because people could identify.
People could tell. They could detect it.
Right. When your motive is you just want to get brownie points or you just want to get a fatter bank account, that's not the motive. You got to have a motive that you don't want these young people, because the young people is the next generation.
Yeah. They mustn't fall through the cracks.
So
you got to help to save.
We got to look out. Hold on. This next generation coming up, I got to make sure they right, because I will sit in my chair and be able to sit on my porch and rock on my chair without having to worry about who coming through my back window.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. What about you, Denver? I mean, that same question applies. What now are the plans? Here you are back home. You're married. You have a good family. What's next? What do you want to do? I know you got a passion about trying to get into the prison and do even more, but this idea that Arthur has about going into schools, going into these institutions and reaching these boys clubs and the rest, reaching these young men and trying to just get them out of them gangs and stuff.
Yeah. And what he is saying is very true. I have been part of being involved in the primary schools and in the junior to senior schools, speaking with our young men. Just this morning, I had an opportunity to speak to almost 30, 40 individuals from I think is Palmdale Primary, and we have to reach them because at that age we seeing gang activities
8,
too.
9, 10
8,
years,
9,
yeah.
10. So we have to reach them where at. One of the things that I think is very important too, I'm also a part of the violence interrupters that the government implemented just a couple of weeks ago, where they had select about 30 individuals to go in different communities and kind of be sort of the peacemakers and bring programs so we can reach these young men. And so I take that on in the Pinewood area, and one of my goal is to train. See, Mr. McKinney, one thing I know being in prison is a lot of these guys are entrepreneurs, and what we have to do now is we have to change the product, because when you in that drug game, you are entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You have the product. Now you have the clientels.
Yeah.
You know where to get it from. So what we need to do is just show these individuals how to do this thing legit now.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong now.
Don't get the wrong
these
product.
guys got some skills, and these are some some of them are very smart individuals. So we need individuals from the private sector to take more time to get into these communities so our young men can see and say, if Mr. Steve McKinney can do that, I can do that. Too many of our young men are seeing the wrong negative behavior, and that's why they gravitated. A lot of our business people and professional, Steve McKinney, came out of these areas.
Absolutely.
And they not making a deposit to go back in the areas.
That's right.
So I'm sending a clarion call that take some time, get one journey and say, look here, I gonna mentor this journey. I gonna make sure he graduate from high school. I gonna make sure he go to college, and I can make sure he become a productive citizen. And if each one get one, I think what happen is we'll see a better Bahamas. One of the things I always say is that the men in the country, I believe we have to take responsibility for what's going on in our country today. I think, Mr. McKinney, we have dropped the ball. We need to pick the ball up and say, look here, we need to be going in our communities and reaching these young men.
Bottom line,
we have to reach them. We have to be the father figure to that young boy who doesn't have a father figure in the home. Yeah.
Is there anything to be afraid of? Because that's the first question that comes into people's mind.
Yeah.
That they're afraid. But these are kids that you're talking about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. You can get them now, and you can build that relationship with them. But a lot of people are like, boy, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid. What do you think? How do you respond?
Yeah, some
to
people,
stuff like
some
that?
people say is afraid, and you could say there's something to that. But I always believe if God ever have your back, He'll always protect you. And I remember Steve McKinney when I was small. We used to have service on the streets. You see what I'm saying? And we never had this problem. So what I believe is the church came out of the community, and it seems like the enemy came in.
Yeah.
Now, if we was to come out of these four walls and go back into the communities, I believe we'll see a difference. We get too comfortable in the four walls.
Yeah.
And it's time for us to go into the communities and take back what the devil has stolen. And we need to have men who say, look here, at any cost, we're going to reach these individuals. We're going to step to those individuals who's wrecking havoc and say, look here, man, we know that you selling dope on this corner. We ain't no more dope selling on this corner. Because if you take away that, then you have to replace it with something else, because you talking about an individual who been doing this for so long. Right. So what we want to do is educate our young men and say, if you want to do a business, let's do it legit. If you want to go to school, we're going to have opportunities for you to go to school. Understood. So you can't just tell the young man, I can take this away from you, and then what? And you don't replace it with nothing.
Well, one of the young men who came out of street evangelism is sitting right here, David Williams. He was, around the Hospital Lane, West Street area. His mother was a warrior for this kind of thing, and he did a whole lot of that. In fact, sometimes going to the Prairie, he'd be headed back down to go and do this kind of thing, and being a part of contributing to that kind of stuff. So that's a good idea that you have, and I believe that you all should go and see how best it could be done. I will do all I can to make sure that people understand what the Prison Fellowship is all about. Because I think there are great human interest stories in this particular kind of exposure, this kind of interview, so that we can motivate some people to get involved, one, and then two, speak to the heart of these young men who are believing that they're the biggest thugs in town and that there was no bad men before them and there'll be none after them, but that if they realize that it's them who is in search of something great that they don't know what it is, they'll know it when they find it. Let's hope they don't have to book their foot, or they don't have to go through the system that you went through, to be still and know that I am God, and to be quiet in your meditation to find out that God is speaking. And that is what is very important there. So I appreciate both of you coming today and sharing with us.
Yeah, Steve, Mr. McKinney, one more thing. We want to just send a shout out to the individuals behind prison bars, because they do listen to the radio. If we don't send a shout out to them in Maximum and Medium and Vermont, we can't go back there. They always tell us we always on this radio. You only send a shout out to them. So we want to send a shout out to all the guys behind prison bars. We want to send a shout out to all the chaplains that are there. And also I want to send a shout out to my pastor from BFM Fellowship Missionary Baptist in Pinewood, and all the members there who's doing a good work in the Pinewood community. I also send a shout out to my lovely wife who's probably listening, and to all of my family.
Well done. And thank you very much, Arthur. Because you are both on the right track. You stick around with this thing, you ain't seen nothing yet. And that come from my spirit. I feel that today. You stick around, you'll see. It's going to break through, because it's important and we do need it. And I think that a lot of people who will listen today would be encouraged, and I'll get a lot of phone calls later telling me, who are those guys, or how do we get in contact? And I can tell you. So stand by. Some things are going to happen in this country. And David, I want to thank you very much for bringing both guests here today to the show, and we look forward to working along with you in the future.
Yes, sir.
All right, I appreciate it. Well, thank you very much, and we're going to have to call it. Oh my goodness, it's 16 past the hour, and we were meant to be here for an hour. But you see, sometimes things are so important that you want to get it out. And tonight, I believe we've done that. We'll perhaps replay this program too, because this is very important, I think, for the psyche of a lot of young people in our country. Thank you very much. Let's go home, Steve. Tonight's show has been brought to you by the folks at Life at Hills, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, Mount Tabor Inspiration, the Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, Hadji's Your Everything Store, Commonwealth Bank, your new debit card, United Democratic Party. The big event is tonight in Fox in the next few minutes. Rocky Farms Nursery, Cool Tech, the Equidoo experts on Tonique Williams Darling Highway. Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Clean and Shore, and Superwash, Bank of the Bahamas, Super Value, your all Bahamian supermarkets, Advantage Insurance and Broker, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors, Claridge Wolf Road, Executive Printers, Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group for the best results and advertisements. Sappadilla on Friday. They're going to have the polka dots and plaids coming out for the big dinner. And in honor of Sir Lyndon Tenney, the Legacy Ball. And, of course, Bahamas Foot and Ankle Institute on Blake Road. And the Free National Movement prayer breakfast on Saturday morning. That's our show for tonight. Tomorrow we come back here at 5. We'll be joined by a number of ladies. They are from different political parties, and they come to say hello and introduce themselves. They'll be a part of my show as my guest list tomorrow. We'll see you then, God willing. Until tomorrow, good night from Hard Copy.
Keep life simple, refreshing, soft, and easy music. 107.5 FM.